That word shame, I was covered in shame and I didn't even know it. Like, this was way later on my journey that I even realized I was carrying so much shame. Because again, when something like that happens, we take it all on ourselves and think, oh, it must be me, or there's something wrong with me, or it happened to me because I'm not a good person, or all these kind of crazy stories. So we're the ones who end up carrying all the shame. And then that leads to that word disconnect, and then that shutdown, and then me over focusing on the externals to get some sense of feeling like I belonged or I was good enough. You know, so it becomes an outside in versus an inside out way of living, and an over focus on the externals. And that I was overly everything, overly independent, overly achieving, overly perfectionist, overly critical.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Flip That Shit. My name is Stacey Uhrig. I'm your host, and today's guest is Karen Maloney. So before we get into our awesome interview with Karen, let me just give you a quick reminder about this cast. So as a trauma recovery coach, I work with so many people that come to me because they're stuck. And what I know for sure is that they're stuck because they have been suffering in isolation. And I think part of the reason why is because when we're growing up, we hear these things all the time. Don't share with people what's going on. Don't air your dirty laundry. And it gives us this messaging that life is always supposed to be good. And anytime that it's not, it's wrong, or it's bad, or it's broken. And that's the bullshit of the story, because life is a series of experiences that go up and down all the time. That's the natural curve. And when we're taught it's not supposed to dip at any time, it makes us feel as though something is wrong in our life. And when we can't connect with people in those challenging moments, and we can't connect in the struggle, it leads to more isolation, which can resolve as this state of anxiety or depression or disconnect, right? We learn how to cope because we're not doing it in a community-based setting. We're doing it on our own. And so I find we end up in this corner that I call like the shame corner. It's like the shadow of shame. And it's a debilitating spot to be. But here's what I know for sure. Everybody has shit. Everybody has challenge. Everybody has the valleys of life, because life is not straight. Life is a series of experiences, and they're each divinely designed for us. So if you're stuck, if you're walking around super anxious or depressed or disconnected, my hope is that you will hear a story today and feel as though you feel seen, heard, and understood. Perhaps Karen's story will relate to your story. And that will allow you to come out of that shadow and either connect with Karen directly or connect with one person that you feel you can do so with, and start to share the shame and share the struggle, so you can start moving away from that shadow and into the light. So what I love about this concept is I don't really know Karen. I've only met her for maybe 15 minutes a few months ago online, just to connect before I decided if she'd be a good guest. And that's kind of the point. I can pull pretty much any random person, and if they're vulnerable enough to share their true life experience, I'm going to hear a story that's challenging. And that should show to you that it's not just you, right? So let me tell you a little bit about what Karen has shared with me about herself. Check it. Karen has spent most of her life being a perfectionist, emotionally numb, and what she would consider the black sheep. She was curiously quiet and quietly curious at the same time. She was drawn to books, energy therapies, and all things esoteric growing up, but she pretty much kept that part of herself hidden. It took a traumatic breakup in 2016 to finally wake her up to the fact that she was the common denominator in her life, and that her life and happiness was her responsibility. Insert, not anybody else's. From then, she undertook the inner work to change the subconscious beliefs that were controlling her life. Everything shifted for her. And now it's her mission to help others do the same. No matter how you are currently feeling or operating, there is another way. So that's a perfect lead in to what we were just saying. Let me just tell you what she does now before we get into it. She's an inside out coach. She helps people with mindset and self-belief, silent counseling practitioner, and energy therapist. She's also the founder and host of a podcast called Curiosity and Consciousness. She's a champion of soul living and is passionate about helping people shift from their inner critic and believe in themselves to be the best that they are. So I can hope you see we're already in deep alignment. So Karen, what got you spending most of your life being a perfectionist, emotionally numb, and the black sheep? Tell us that story.
So first of all, thanks for having me. And yeah, I just love the intention of your show and having these conversations as well. And the thing about them is the more that people are willing to share, the more we realize we're not alone and everyone goes through something. And I honestly felt that way. I thought nobody would understand, just keep everything to myself. And it was a childhood trauma that caused me to shut down. There was abuse, and like that, I was told, oh, don't tell anyone. And as a young child, now knowing what I know and learning what I've learned, I didn't realize the impact at that time. Like when you're a child, you just kind of get on with life and it's like, oh yeah, okay, done, whatever. Keep going. And then eventually, as I got older, kind of learning, oh no, that's not cool. That's not right. And having this message of keeping it secret and having that programmed into me from a really young age, I actually didn't know what to share and what I couldn't share. It just was like I shut everything down. And I love Brené Brown's talk on the power of vulnerability, how she says you can't selectively choose emotions. They're either all on or all off. But I didn't know this. And I knew as I got older, I was like, why is there something missing? Like, why don't I feel like I can get emotionally connected or feel a full expression of emotions like some other people? And I just couldn't. But I was like, okay, it's just how I am. But really just keeping it all within, not sharing very much at all. And I remember years and years ago, a best friend of mine telling me, she was like, who are you? Like, I don't know anything about you because, I'd be there and present and friendly. Well, present. I was there in person. I was not present. I can see that now. But not sharing about emotional things and what's going on with me, and how I'm feeling and challenges I'm experiencing. I just kept that all hidden, suppressed.
And why did you do that?
I think that was the program I got, as in, this is a secret, don't tell anyone. But again, as a child, that's just what was programmed in. I didn't know.
Well, is it the concept of like, if I can't share this thing and I'm compartmentalizing it because I don't know how to do just one. If I'm not going to share one thing, I can't share anything about myself.
And maybe there was a fear of, oh my God, if I opened up, maybe I'd let it slip. Maybe I'd say something and, without me realizing. Right. So it was better just to keep stump all together and say nothing. And then obviously, we can't live like that. So because I had this huge desire and need, as we all do, we're all human, that translated into external things, and that's stifling perfectionism because so badly I can see now I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be validated because I felt so not good enough. And that word shame that you mentioned, I was covered in shame and I didn't even know it. Like this was way later on my journey that I even realized I was carrying so much shame. Because again, when something like that happens, we kind of just take it all on ourselves and think, oh, it must be me, or there's something wrong with me, or it happened to me because I'm not a good person, or all these kind of crazy stories. So we're the ones who end up carrying all the shame. And then that leads to that word disconnect, and then that shutdown, and then me over focusing on the externals to get some sense of feeling like I belonged or I was good enough. So it becomes an outside in versus an inside out way of living, and an over focus on the externals. And that I was overly everything. overly independent, overly achieving, overly perfectionist, overly critical.
And what did that look like? So first of all, people should understand Karen is from Ireland, but has transported herself to Mexico and lives there full time now. Okay. So when you were overly achieving and overly everything, were you still in Ireland at the time?
Back, up until my early 30s.
So what did it look like? Can you paint the audience a picture of what the overachieving Karen
it was just
looked
that
like?
Sense of trying to be the best at everything and having a huge, and it's okay to have competition, but this was way too much. Like I could not lose. I could not accept if something was not perfect, and I couldn't let go of control. I couldn't allow other people to do things for me because I thought, oh, they could never do it as good as I could. So just kind of take.
And how would that resonate in your system? Like, what would it feel like if you were in the middle of a task or a project for work or doing something? What would it feel like inside? Because I know you're an inside out coach. What did it feel like on the inside to even consider it not being
It's funny
perfect?
because I can look back and just say it was so normal for me. I can see that I was actually a highly anxious person, but I didn't even realize it. Just that having that edge, having that inability to stop was so normal to me. I thought this is how you achieve. This is what brings you success. I have to keep berating myself. I have to keep pushing myself. And it's funny, I worked in event management for years, and I was so good at it because I didn't stop. So that feeling was kind of like a thrill, because I was just like, yeah, I'll just do it all myself. Like, I'll show everyone that I can do it all myself. I've got this. So it would give me a buzz. It would give me adrenaline, but also it would be extra stressful. I would feel my heart like literally beating out of my chest, because I'm like, then my thoughts would start, and I'm like, oh my God, and I have to do this, and I have to do this, and I have to do this, and oh my God, when am I going to get them all done? And the stories would start. So I would physically feel the heartbeat and the panic, but yet I got a thrill out of it because I couldn't stop. So I was so perfect for that job because it gave me energy as well, at a time when I can look back and say I actually felt really empty and numb and dead inside. So it was perfect for me at the time. Not that. Absolutely.
Did you end up burning
100%,
out?
1,000,000%. And I actually felt like my brain blew up. I remember the time specifically. And it was like the year after kind of the breakup. And I was like, okay, I've got to do this. I'm going to set up my own business and go and dragging myself out of bed at like 6 a.m., 5:30 and be like, this is what I need to do. This is how I get to be successful, and going. And I remember I just hit a point where I'd literally opened my laptop and I was like, oh my God, I'm like exhausted, even though I just woke up. So I was like, okay, I'll just go back for a 20-minute nap. And this was a couple of weeks. I was having like three-hour naps throughout the day and sleeping all night. And then I realized, and I remember lying on my bed one day and I literally felt like my brain just blew up. And I was like, okay, universe. I was like, you show me the way, because clearly the way I'm doing things is not working. I'm done. I'm exhausted. I can't keep going this way.
I'm so glad we're having this conversation, because I do a workshop for women's groups, and I title it 5 Things You Don't Know About Burnout That Are Burnout. And I ask them at the beginning of the workshop, first I say, on a scale of 1 to 5, have you ever experienced burnout? And if so, what's the number? 5 being like complete collapse. And I make sure I say 5 being complete collapse. And I have them put it into like a chat box if it happens to be online. And I'm getting numbers like 8, 9, 10, right? So they're trying to exemplify like this is like beyond burnout, right? If 5 was the max, I'm giving you a 10. And then I would ask them to use the chat box again and define what burnout is for them. And it was very much what you just described, right? Complete shutdown, complete breakdown, all of it. And I show them what the official definition of burnout is. And then I say to them, I want to show you another definition. And that definition is the definition of childhood trauma, developmental trauma. And in those 5 things that they need to know that they don't know, the first thing that I show them is, what does unresolved developmental trauma in adulthood look like? Mm-hmm. People pleasing, perfectionism, inability to set boundaries, worrying about other people's opinions more than our own, and one that people don't really think about, but is autoimmune challenges or complete breakdown of the body.
That was that person.
And I show them what are all the things that lead to burnout, right? And I show the lines. And then we talk about perfectionism, prioritizing other people's needs and validation, inability to set boundaries, and autoimmune. And then I say to them, what if it isn't the job? Tell me another time before you took on that job that you were doing this. School, within my family. And it's just that little light bulb aha moment for them to say, oh my God. And not only, oh my God, but you just said it. I was highly praised for all of this. I was promoted. I was given raises, and I would hear things like, oh God, give it to Karen. Karen will do it. Karen will do it great. Karen will do anything. She'll never say no. So we're really validated for all of this stuff, but we don't realize where it's coming from. And sometimes I look at really successful, intense people and I go, what's their shit? You know, like some people are internally driven, and you're right. You get a high from it. There's no question about it. It's so intoxicating. I've been there. But at the same time, if it's burning you out, we're so used to that state being our state of normal. And I think this is why so many people are so stuck. Because there's nothing normal about it.
You don't see it at the time. I was completely oblivious. I thought if I'm not criticizing myself, if I'm not pushing myself, you know, I'm never going to achieve or become this person or whatever I was meant to become. Whereas now I realize I'm like, no, anytime we're against ourselves ever, it never works. We can never be against ourselves. I'm with me the whole time. Why would I want to tear myself down? But again, it was not on my radar. That is not how I thought. I wasn't awake to it. I didn't know all that I know now. And that's the truth. We don't know what we don't know. But again, if we're not willing, and again, sometimes we have to wait for disaster to strike. But that's why we do what we do as well, to try help people not get to that point. But then if they do, it's like...
or they come to us once they got to that point, right? And they're like, I don't ever want to get there again.
Some people keep repeating, you know, it's very difficult sometimes. And I have a really close friend now at the moment that going through this, and I've had to remove myself from the situation because I'm like, I can't, you know, you can see clearly as well the patterns in others, like you say, and I can just see him repeating and repeating. And like that, I can't help anyone. I can't save anyone unless they're willing to step up and start the process for themselves. Unless they take the decision, nobody can do anything for them. And it's so difficult. It's so difficult, especially when you've come out the other side. You know there is another way, but it cannot get through until they're ready.
But you know what's so interesting about that is that it's okay for them to struggle, in the sense that the lessons are in the journey, right? And if they don't go on their own journey and we're making the journey easy for them, they're not going to get the lesson. And I hate to say it that way, but our job is not to soften the blow for everybody. Even as coaches, that's not our job. Our job is to help them create deep awareness and insight, clarity, and acceptance as to how they got there, why they got there, so they don't have to go there again. Or if they find themselves in the spot again, that the duration, the frequency, the intensity of that negative experience is diminished and lessened, right?
The realization, I think when you come through trauma and different things, you realize, oh, it wasn't me. Like I wasn't fundamentally broken or damaged or, got the wrong chip when I was born. And we sometimes do. We get so caught up in the story that we think it's us. We think we're the problem. We think there's something fundamentally wrong, where I don't believe that. The truth of us is perfect, whole, and complete the whole time. But then all the conditioning and the programming is what we buy into and believe is us. But we're so much more than any of that. And that's all the piece that we can change.
Yeah. So I know what you mean when you say conditioning and programming, but for somebody that's kind of at the beginning of their self-healing journey, they might be like, well, I wasn't in a cult, or I wasn't in, so like, what does it mean to you? Describe for somebody who wouldn't understand what that means. What do you mean when you say conditioning and programming?
So the way I describe it sometimes as well is when you think about a brand new baby born, they're just a complete and utter ball of consciousness. They don't know anything about anything. But then we're told everything. And our subconscious mind, especially in those first 7 years, we're in hypnosis state. We don't have the critical analytical mind. So our subconscious is like a recording machine. It is recording and taking in absolutely everything from our surroundings, everything explicitly and implicitly, whether we're told something directly or whether we just witness something. And this is family, peers, family, education, school. It's all just been absorbed in. And that's why I always say, I'm like, we all have limitations that we're not even aware of because of these first 7 years. And how do we learn? Like everything. I didn't know my name until I was told it loads of times. I didn't know what anything was until I was told it loads of times. So we just keep hearing things and having things repeated again and again and again, even if they're very subtle. And it's not like a big T trauma, but it's constantly being left last to be picked on the school team, or constantly not being picked for certain things, or not being invited to certain places. They can be, small T traumas as well, but we're getting the message of over and over again that, I'm not good enough, or I'm never picked, or why not me? So that's why we all have programming and conditioning, because we learn as well who we need to be. We're given everything about ourselves. Like I was given my identity, my name, my culture, my background. Everything was just handed to us. And it's not all bad. It's absolutely not all bad. We need these programs and these constraints as well to live in this human reality. But we are so much more, and actually all of them can be changed. And that's where we can wake up into our power again. Just because something has always been in your family, in your society, and whatever, doesn't mean you have to continue to carry it. You can change it at any time.
You just described all of it so perfectly. And for somebody that this is all new and a big aha and a big oh shit moment, if you want to extend that understanding, a great book is The 4 Agreements, right? By Don Miguel Ruiz. And he's a shaman, brilliant guy. This book's been on the market for probably 30, 40 years. And it's a tiny little book, but it's super powerful and super impactful. And when we talk about agreements, we talk about conditioning, we talk about programming. The way I say it to my clients is this: when you were young and you were in your stroller and somebody was pushing you around, they'd stop and say, Karen, this is grass and this is green. This is green grass. That's a dog. A dog says woof. That's a cat. A cat says meow. Look up. That's the sky. That's blue. And you're like, okay. And you make those agreements because the person who's giving you this message, there's trust. If it's a caretaker, they've hopefully up to this point met your needs. They've fed you, they've bathed you, they've kept you hydrated, they kept you sheltered from the elements. Hopefully, they've even made connections with you unconditionally. So there's an inherent trust there that whatever you tell me is truth. What would it look like if a parent decided to just fuck around with a kid and point to grass and say, this is the sky and this is blue? And point up and say, that's grass and it's green. You're going to believe whatever you're given because A, you don't have any other reference point, and B, because there's inherent trust, right? And we want to believe and we want to trust that everything you tell me is in my best benefit. So when you're walking down the stairs, I'll never forget this. My kids are 18 and 14 now. I don't remember which one it was, but one of my kids walks down the stairs getting ready for kindergarten in a pair of shorts with two very different socks on. One was like a yellow sock pulled all the way up to his kneecap, and the other was like some other sock that was like down, and he had on two different sneakers. He just looked like a disheveled mess. And any parent would be like, there's absolutely no way you can go to school like this, not for any other reason, because it would be a reflection on how well they're parenting. Like, what, you didn't teach your kid how to dress themselves and that things are supposed to match or whatever. And I just remember my initial instinct was to say, what are you wearing? Go back upstairs and change. And I stopped myself because I thought to myself, this is where self-identity is born, right? You made a choice. I gave you the autonomy to make the choice. And if I send you upstairs, I'm automatically sending you the message without saying it that you don't know how to make good choices. Yeah. Who gives a shit what they're wearing? Right? They're already going to have to go sit at a desk for 7 hours at 7 years old, which is ridiculous. Like, you're going to be comfortable, be comfortable. So I stopped myself because I thought, if I sent him upstairs and tell him what he picked was wrong, what's the message I'm sending? So he goes to school. My husband's like, is he really going to school like that? I'm like, pick your battles. Like, what does it really matter? We're asking him to go to school and endure all this time learning all these things. What I want for him is to have real sense of self, right? And if this is what you think is awesome, so be it. They're just colors. They're just materials. They're just prints. Who cares? Right? But I caught myself, and it was right after I had read the 4 agreements. And I just thought, this is where it starts. Whatever I say, they're going to buy into, even if it's implicit, even if I'm not saying outright, you don't make good decisions, that's going to be what he's going to infer. And I'm not down for it. Yeah. And I'm not saying my parenting was perfect. Trust me, I've fucked up a tremendous amount. But I just remember that moment, having read that book, saying this is exactly where it starts.
Pick your moment. You start somewhere. And it's really funny because I can kind of look back as well and think I was just on a lifelong awakening journey, I think. Because I was really curious as well. And even though I was given all these things, I used to always question a lot of things. And I'm like, but why? Why do I have to do it this way? Like, why? Why do I have to do these final exams? Why do I have to go to college? And even I remember I used to always say it when, if you'd say, can I say the F word? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, God. So have you listened to me?
Like, fuck. As a child, and that was such a bad word. And then your parents would be like, oh my God, no, you can't say that, da, da, da. And I remember I used to be like, but fuck is one letter from duck. Like, who even said that fuck was bad and duck is okay? I'm like, I don't get it. I'm like, who made up all these things? And this is the truth of it. Who made them up? Who actually called grass grass? Like, they're all just made up, but we believe them. And again, it's not saying they're bad. It's not saying forget them all. But when we go to the core of any single thought or belief, there's nothing there. It's just an energy.
Totally.
It is just something that has been made up. And we used to always be like, but who freaking said that fuck is bad and duck is okay? Like,
I am with you 100%. And this is what I've taught my kids. I've said it's a word with it's letters with sounds put together that make a word. And in some countries, if you were to say it, it would have no meaning. I said, so when you're here, if you use that word as a sentence enhancer to express how you feel about something, it's okay. here. Not everybody's going to be happy with it outside of this house. So keep it here. But what I don't want you to do is use it in reference to someone. Right? So you can say, oh my God, this fucking steak's awesome. Or I fucking hate this. Or I'm fucking angry. Or whatever it is. It's that intense sentence enhancer. But don't go around saying that person's a fucking asshole. Right? That was my limit. But anyway, we could talk. I mean, look, have you seen the title of my podcast?
It's perfect. We have every opportunity to flip anything.
But here's the deal. So you're on this journey, you burn out, you're on bed, you're taking 3-hour naps a day, you're exhausted from the moment you wake up. You have been extraordinarily praised for all this work, for showing up in this very high energy, high functioning, anxious self. What happens?
So I think to preface that as well is probably important. And the year before that major burnout, I had gone through this traumatic breakup that my ex just sent me an email. We were living abroad and disappeared. I've never heard from him since. He never replied to my email.
Were you living abroad together?
He'd cut his phone off, never heard from him again, and I lost everything I owned. I was back in Ireland for a weekend trip, and he said he'd have my stuff shipped back. Nothing arrived. So I lost everything I owned as well. And I had sold my car, quit all my bills, quit my job, cancelled all my bills and everything because we were moving. So it was rough.
Now, can we just stop it here? Because this is such a great example of what I'm trying to get across all the time. So rightfully so, you said this was a very traumatic experience, right? And really, if you think about it, the experience in and of itself was you got a note, a message, a phone call, a text, whatever, saying it's over. Trauma is never the event. Trauma is the way it is experienced and it's interpreted within the system. It's the feelings that we get from the event that stay alive in our system. So what were the feelings you had when this event occurred?
This one I would say was very different because this was the trauma that actually woke me up, and I woke up very quickly after it. But obviously at first, what I was experiencing that first, it was quick. I can't remember, maybe like 2 or 3 days maximum, but that total shock, obliteration, I felt like physical pain. I was absolutely, the ground swallowed me up. But I went straight to victimhood. Oh, what did I do? Maybe I shouldn't have done this. Why did I do this? Oh my God, did I miss something? Oh, I went straight to, what did I do wrong? Because again, I wasn't conscious to what was running within me to even attract a person like that in the first place. That, you can look back and say from the get-go was a dysfunctional relationship. Not that there was like issues at the start, but again, I can see when I'm not my whole self, I cannot attract someone whole either. There was 2 traumatized people, but again, not knowing. So instantly I went to, what did I do? Because I was the fixer. I wanted a project in a relationship because that's where I felt like I can help someone. This is how I get love. I do things and I get love. That's how I receive. So that's what happened straight away, went to that. But the complete and utter shock. But this one was very different too, because I agree, trauma is not what happens to us. It's what happens inside of us as a result. And, that's Gabor Mate, as you know. And, I'd been living my whole life with an unprocessed trauma up to that. But this time was very different within the first couple of days. And again, I was absolutely in bits, crying every day, not eating, not talking to anyone, just completely in my own world. And I can only call it an awakening. I don't know what was going on at the time, but having read different things as well. And that's the way I learn. I go through things and then the information kind of comes afterwards. And I'm like, oh, that's what that was. Yeah. So I was in hysterics, absolute hysterics, crying and next thing, just this immense calm came over me all of a sudden. And I just felt such serenity. And again, it was really quick, but I remember having a moment of going, wow, I was like in hysterics. And I just heard a voice and it was like, okay, Karen, you have two choices here. You stay exactly as you are, miserable, going over things, trying to figure things out, taking the responsibility, going into victimhood, being hurt, being blah, 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 whatever, missing out on your life, ruining the rest of your life, or you accept this as your reality and move forward. And I was kind of like in that moment, I just had such clarity. I was like, oh yeah, this has happened. And no, all my thinking in the world, I can't unhappen it. And it was actually the first time in my life that I stayed with the pain and I felt it. And actually, when we feel our emotions, they dissipate. You know, it was like biggest surprise to me ever. So that's what I did. And it wasn't as if I didn't, you know, it was easy from then on forward. It wasn't. I still had those moments of panic and fear rise. But when they rose, I dealt with them. I didn't run from them anymore or try hide them or avoid them or stay in them like I'd been doing my whole life. I didn't live in my emotions anymore. I felt them and I released them. And that was a huge new part for me. And it was funny because also, one, I didn't know what was going on and how this new way of being for me that was opening up, but I felt really good. Like I'd have those moments, but then in between those moments, I actually felt good and I focused on gratitude and all the things that I did have. Then I was, you know, dealing with the bigger event and the stuff and whatever. But then I also had to deal with everyone else's reaction to how I was dealing to things. Because everyone actually thought I was avoiding and suppressing. And I was trying to say, no, actually, for the first time in my life, I'm not. I'm actually feeling them when they rise, but then I'm getting on with things. And they couldn't understand. They thought I was totally, you know, lost in them, totally in denial, where actually, for the first time in my life, I wasn't, you know? So there was a lot going on.
That's amazing. And I think you're right. You know, we're so quick to try to avoid and circumvent and circumnavigate these horribly overwhelming emotions. And one of the things that's the most powerful is, can you sit with the feeling, the state of it? What does it feel? I mean, it's really like a physical, visceral shift in the system without giving it a story, recognizing it, noticing, okay, I'm in this state because my body feels, fill in the blank, let's just say panic, betrayal, abandonment, neglect, whatever it is that's flipping our amygdala on and saying we're in threat. Our body is acting normally to an abnormal circumstance, and we just need to let it do its job and constantly remind ourselves, I'm safe.
Because actually, funnily enough, because that's when I really started to walk my talk and I started going deep on the inner work and really, because I'd read all the books. I loved reading. I knew all the information, but I wasn't living it. I wasn't using any of it. So this was the first time I actually started taking action and walking my talk. But actually what I saw as well, and this is still my truth every day, when that emotion comes up, or the fear or the panic or the sadness or the going around an old story or whatever it is, now I have the awareness to pause, and every time it comes back to a thought, I've started thinking about it again. I've started going back there, repeating the story. So it's like, oh, you know, we have so much control over our inner world. It's actually the only thing we can control, as opposed to everything outside of us. We work from the inside out. But it was like, oh yeah, like, yes, I have to feel the feeling, absolutely, because I believe when that energy is resonating in the body like that, we're shut down, we're cut off, we're disconnected. But then I also have to change my story. I also have to change my focus and what I'm choosing to think on, because that's what's setting them off.
Well, it's funny. So I have a little brain here, and it's like squishy. It's like a foamy brain, and it actually pops open. It's very cool. But I use this all the time because I have my clients, if they're here, I give it to them and I ask them to squeeze it. And I said, what does this feel like to you? They're like, it's It's mushy, it's spongy, it's rubbery, it bounces, it's doing all these things. And I was like, okay, so you said it's kind of spongy, right? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, imagine if it really was a sponge and you spilled something on your countertop and you had to soak it up and it was really spongy. Do you think it would soak every single thing up underneath it? They're like, yeah. I'm like, that's what your brain does every time you talk to it. Every time you talk to it. At no time does it go, oh, we don't listen to that negative talk, or we don't pick up the wine as a sponge, or we don't pick up coffee because we don't drink coffee. Whatever you put underneath it, the sponge will pick up. Well, whatever you tell yourself, consciously, unconsciously, whatever messaging you're giving yourself, the sponge, the brain, has no ability to say, oh, that's bullshit. You don't really feel that way about yourself, or that's nonsense. You know you're better than that. It picks it up as truth. Just like we accepted those agreements we talked about earlier, it accepts it as truth. It has no ability to discern or discriminate. Its job is to listen to what you're saying and take it as truth. So you must be truthful with yourself. You know, in that moment, I'm sure you were saying to yourself, I'm going to die. You know, this feels like a death, right? And now, so what's going to happen? Holy shit, she's going to die. Activate the vagus nerve, activate every single nervous system we have. What's happening? Panic, rushing of adrenaline, cortisol. I mean, all this stuff happens because we told ourselves we're in threat. You know, if I don't get to this job and I sit in this traffic, I'm going to ABC XYZ. Boop, 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 boop. It all comes up. So I always say to my client, in that moment, what did you feel? Because the feeling's what stops us in our tracks. And then I back into it. What were you thinking at that time? Okay, let's dissect those things. How much of that was true? Well, but you know, I mean, I know it's not true. I'm like, yeah, you know it's not true consciously, but your mind is just your ride or die. It's like, I've got you, let's go. Got to be mindful. And by the way, if you find yourself in that negative talk loop all the time, that's when I like to do the subconscious work with people to say, what was the belief you had about yourself that you're choosing to see yourself through that particular lens? You might not want to see yourself through that particular lens, but you're still choosing it. Right? And like you said, if we can choose these things, we can unchoose these things too. Yeah. Right? So with time on its side, you know, I'm looking at the time because we could go on and on and on. I know you went on a full-on journey. I know you dove into ayahuasca. I want to talk about that. We might have to do a part 2 because I could do I'd like to do a whole episode on that because it's becoming such a big topic. How did you go from this major epiphany, enlightening, probably greatest gift of an experience you've ever had, albeit very, very painful? How did you go from that to where you are now? And what are you doing now? Given this experience? And I definitely
do look at it as a gift, not his actions, not what he did. No, absolutely. That was completely shitty. But I'm grateful for it because of me and the work I chose to do on me and me finally getting the message for me and coming back to me, you know, absolutely. But ayahuasca and that was not on my mind at all. I remember after that as well, because I quit my job when we had moved abroad, and then I decided to go traveling in South America. Well, no, I'd worked for a year as well. I went into more corporate and weddings because I thought, the grass will be greener. I was working with the charity. There'll be more benefits. It'll be better, blah, 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 blah. And I absolutely hated it. So grateful as well because I knew full stop. I was like, I am done. Never again. Because I always wanted to do my own thing as well. So I was like, this is me done. I am never working for anyone again. I am not beating to anyone else's drum. I am not fighting for pay rises and asking for days off. I am done. So I took off to South America and I went traveling. And I remember I'd never heard of ayahuasca. And I remember before I left, a friend of mine who had traveled there, he told me about it. And he was like, oh, this medicine exists in South America and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that sounds absolutely insane. There is no way in the world I would ever do that, because I didn't do drugs or anything like that. Because again, I was too terrified to open up, to let go of control in any way. So I was like, God, no, that sounds insane. And then it just really started calling me very, very strong. And it happened in Peru. I thought, okay, if I was going to do it, it would be in Colombia, and then it was Peru. And honestly, my first ayahuasca session, it was with the shaman in a really beautiful place in his house and his family in Peru. And the music and the cantos and everything were amazing. But I didn't get much from it. And I laugh at that because I obviously did. But again, I was way too shut down and closed off that I didn't allow much to happen. I just felt so unbelievably uncomfortable in my body all night. I was kind of like, oh my God, why would anyone do this? I didn't vomit. I didn't go to the toilet because, again, now I can look back and see I was terrified to let go of control. So I had some insights, blah, 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 but I was just, afterwards, I was like, never again. Why would anyone do that? I'd met so many people and heard all these incredible stories. So my ego was like, well, I guess I just must be enlightened or something already, because, you know, I didn't have that. It makes me laugh so hard. So anyway, I went. I was like, never again. Like, why? And off I went. And I would say it took me a good 6 or 7 months for some of the insights and realizations to start for me to actually start noticing them and seeing them. And I was like, oh, wow. Yeah. And again, it was this truth of, I am my only limit. I am the common denominator in my life. I am the one with all the blocks and everything within myself, you know, and it was calling me again. So I don't know how long we've left or we've finished at the hour, but then it called me again, but I was back in Ireland and I was like, I don't have the money for going back to South America or that. So then I found this other place and did a couple of retreats with them. And they were incredible, absolutely incredible. I really broke open to myself in lots of ways. I saw how isolated I had become, how I cut myself off, and I was kind of on no man's land myself. And I remember one night particularly, I kept going down these rabbit holes of like, you know, situations that happened and trying to figure it out and, you know, working them out and going, who said that and who said this and who said that and blah, 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 blah. And every single time I'd get to the end of one of them and it's like I just saw all these fingers pointing at me and I was just like, oh yes, it's me every time. You know, it's that truth of a situation is a situation, but the story I say about the situation is all me. And that's the part that's often worse. You know, this is the painful part, the event, but that's could be a one time only and it's done. But this is the suffering that you keep going round and round and round and round and carrying forever. So I just saw this, you know, and I'd have all the fingers pointed and I was like, oh my God, it's me. And then it was kind of like everyone was cheering and celebrating. I was like, oh God, yeah. And next thing, 2 seconds later, I was down. I mean, you've no concept of time, but then I was down another rabbit hole and some other thing and same thing. Then I was like, oh my God, it was me. And then I was like, oh, feeling great for a minute. And then and that was my whole night. I was going down these different paths.
That had to be exhausting.
Because as soon as I'd have the realization going, oh my God, yeah, it's me, I'd forget it again. And I was gone down another rabbit hole and I was like, oh my God, you know, it was exhausting. It's clarifying, but again, the work starts afterwards, you know. I have seen people 100%. Yeah, exactly.
Pandora's box has been opened.
And this is the thing about if anyone is called to medicines that I always say, I'm like, first, be sure of who you're doing it with. But secondly, I'm like, if you are not willing to actually walk a talk and do a practice and work with what comes up afterwards, I'm like, don't bother doing it. Because I've met too many people who are running even faster because they're not doing anything to integrate.
Isn't that fascinating?
So hard, because you're like, you can have this grand opportunity, but if you're not willing to do the work, don't do it. Don't do it to yourself, because like that, you'll be running even harder. But interestingly, I'm training as a transformational breathwork coach now. And for me, because I had the message as well during some of my retreats that our breath is our superpower. And, you know, all the shamans, all the facilitators would say, it's not the medicine. You know, we are the medicine. We have everything within. You know, you hear this message again and again. And like having those insights and realizations, you kind of come around the next day and you're like, what was that? And you have to decipher it. It's not like, or for me anyway, it wasn't like it was super clear and everything's easy from then on. No, you really have to integrate it and work and really embody the messages, because it's not just there. I'm like, yeah, in the moment you get it, but then it's gone. So, but I had this message, our breath is our superpower. And I kind of was like, I mean, yeah, like if we're not breathing, we're not here. And I knew only of pranayamic and relaxing breathwork patterns, which are super powerful as well. But when I saw like breathwork journeys and everything, I was kind of like, what is that? Like, what the hell is that? How can that help you? You know, sometimes my mind, I go straight to skepticism, but the great thing is I have such a powerful intuition and I know to trust it, even though sometimes my mind is like, and I've been trusting it my whole life. So that I will not stop. But sometimes that human mind just pops in before I'm awake again going, oh yeah, no, I know how this goes. But yeah, our breath really is everything. And with doing breathwork journeys and working with it in a particular way, we can get to the same insights. We can have the same levels of awareness, transformation, shifts, change, getting into the subconscious mind. And for me, it's way more accessible than the medicines. Secondly, it's shorter. And thirdly, for me, working with my breath has been way more powerful than the medicines in one sense, because it's so somatic. And that's what I needed. I needed that liberation from my body. I needed those trapped emotions and everything to get out that I never did with the medicines. They did not help me in that way. I couldn't. Whereas with my breath, it is so somatic, I cannot avoid it. Well, I can. If I stop breathing, the act of breathing, I'm not going anywhere. And again, it's that pure realization again of I hold the power. If I choose to balk at myself and give up and not breathe deep, fine, that's my choice, but I'm also not getting the benefits.
Well, let me just, what I'm thinking now is I'd love to do another episode on breathwork, because I am right now where you just described. Like, I get it, I see it, but I don't really get it. Right. And mainly because I've never done it. But as a trauma coach, obviously somatic healing is very, very important and very integral to many people's journeys. I think everybody heals differently, and I would love to have you back on. I'm going to use that as a lead-in to final it out. So I just want to remind everybody, Karen is an inside-out coach. She helps people with mindset and self-belief, silent counseling, and energy. Okay. She's the founder and host of her own podcast, and she's a champion of soul living and is passionate about helping people shift their inner critic, believe in themselves, and be who they were born to be. All of this will now make so much sense after having heard her story. She helps you uncover the subconscious beliefs that are sabotaging your desires and helps you transform them. As you can see, she's using breath work. She's done EFT, tapping, gratitude, all focusing on what she was looking for. She traveled to South America, as she shared, doing ayahuasca, and it caused her to see everything that was reflecting back to her. She works as a coach, is trained as a coach, and does inner work. And do you do Reiki as well?
And integrated energy therapy. And it's funny. And knowing what I know as well, and what we know about trauma and the conditioning and the programming, and if we don't go in and actually heal these things and release them from the body, they will manifest and present as an autoimmune disease, like you said, as major depression, major illness, and all these kind of things. And it's funny for me because energy work called me very early as well. And I never did therapy or things like that. Like, I just felt sometimes when I would like be in a real hole I'd be like, but what would I talk about? Like, I felt like, I didn't really have much to talk about. My trauma wasn't that big, but energy work called me. And I can say how powerful it is, because that absolutely saved me. Knowing what I know, that absolutely saved me from some massive, yes, I had bouts of depression and that, but from some major illness, depression, autoimmune disease or something like that. Like, that didn't happen. And I definitely put that down to the energy work.
Well, if you guys are excited about what Karen has said, and I definitely am, I want you to check out her website. It's her name, super simple, KarenMaloney.com. It's Maloney. It'll be in the show notes. If you want to follow her, she's on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and you can look her up, Karen Maloney. And she has a special offer for people that are listening. You can go to her website and download her free morning routine ebook. And she offers a 30-minute clarity call for free, available on her website. I will be booking Karen again so we can have her come on and talk more therapeutically about some of these models, right? Especially the breath work, because it's something I haven't really talked about on the podcast. And I think it's really important for everybody to learn about it. But in the meantime, Karen, thank you so much for coming on. It's been such a blessing to have you. Your story, I know for sure, will resonate with so many people. And if this podcast episode resonated with you, please check out all of our podcasts. You can just search up my name, Stacey Uhrig. It's UHRIG, or search for Flip That Shit. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Stay tuned.